In our first school, we're going to look at simplifying surds. And it's really important that you know your square numbers, at least up to 10 squared, 100, before you start. So basically 1 times 1, 2 times 2, 3 times 3, 4 times 4. And it's a good idea to write them at the top of your page if you're ever doing a surds test. So our first step when simplifying a surd is to look at the surd and try to find the largest square number that goes into it. So for example, with 32, 4 goes into it. 16 also goes into it. So if you want to make your life easier, you choose the largest one. So the first thing I'm going to do is rewrite 32 as 16 times 2. Now I know I can square root the 16, so I'm going to remove the 16 out of the square root and put a 4 at the front. Okay, we'll leave the 2 as is. Now the next example is fairly similar, except we have a coefficient, a number out the front, 5. So we start by ignoring that number and we just look at the surd and we try and find the biggest square number that goes into 28. And this time it will be 4. So we're going to rewrite 28 as 4 times 7 and leave the 5 at the front. Now I'm going to bring the 4 out of the square root, and the square root of 4 is 2. The 7 still remains in the square root. Now we just need to neaten it up, so we'll put our 5 times 2 together and make that 10. So we'll have 10 root 7. Now the next example is just a bigger version of what we've been doing. And I'm going to do it the long way. So for example, if you could spot that 400 goes into that and 400 is a square number, you'll get it straight off, okay? And that's the recommended way. But I want you to see what happens if I don't get the biggest square number. So I obviously can see that 100 goes into that. So I'm going to start with 8 times 100. Actually, say it in reverse, the square number first. 100 times 8 makes it a bit easier. So I've worked that out, and I know the square root of 100 is 10, so I'm going to bring that out and have 10 root 8. So I get to that stage, and it's really important I look at the surd and say, can that go down further? Yes, 4 goes into that. So I know I can break root 8 into root 4 times 2. And then I can break that down just a little bit further. So the 4 can come out and become 2 because the square root of 4 is 2. And I'm going to do a shortcut and change that into 20. And once you get quite good at these, I'm happy for you to jump to that step. Just be really careful, okay? Root 4 becomes 2. 10 times 2 is 20. And if you think you're going to make a mistake there, take that extra step like I did up here. Better be safe than sorry. Now the last example is actually the easiest one out of all the examples. So unfortunately, a lot of people try to make this very difficult. 36, well, it's a square number, so we can square root it. So our answer, what's the square root of 36? Just 6. So don't get drawn into the hard surd work. If it's a square number, you should just be able to get a whole answer straight off. Okay, what I'm going to get you to do now is to pause the video and have a go at the practice questions. Then I'm going to put the solutions up for you to check. So make sure you pause first and then unpause when you finish your questions. Okay, if you've got any of those wrong and you're not quite sure why, make sure you follow up in class next lesson. And now you may go on to your mixed questions.